Hello and good afternoon, Florida Special Districts. We will get started in 1 minute. My name is Matt Clemens. We are very excited to have you here joining us this afternoon for our talk on securing your greatness. We're going to wait 1 minute to allow everybody to join in, and then Heather and I will get started. We'll be right back. All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Securing Your Greatness talk. My name is Mac Clemens. I'm with Streamline, and we are very excited in partnership with the Florida Association of Special Districts to bring you Securing Your Greatness, empowering Florida districts to lead with purpose and transparency. I'm joined by our special guest today and my partner in crime, Heather Highland. Heather, say hi.
Hello, how's everyone doing?
So Heather is a former PIO and assistant district general manager, a couple of different capacities. I can't name all your different titles you've had. They worked at the statewide level on organizing coalitions and so much more. We also have Alex Metz joining us too. She's from our marketing team. Alex will be behind the scenes helping us field your questions and will be monitoring chat. Alex, say hi. Say hi to our
Hey everyone, super excited for this webinar. Just if you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat or the Q&A section, and we'll make sure we'll answer them live.
All right. And Alex is going to be kind enough to send you the slides afterwards. So if you see something you like, hopefully you do, you don't have to worry about scribbling it all down quickly or taking screenshots. We will be, of course, sending you the entire deck after today's presentation, so you can dig in. All right. And with that, Heather and I want to share why we're here. We actually believe that local government can be and is often the most effective form of government. And so we are inspired to bring you some stories from the front lines. And now is a really interesting time in the history of Florida special districts. And we've been coming out to the FASD conference since 2017, and it was cowboy themed. Tanya Quickle still gives me a hard time about that I forgot my cowboy boots and had to wear flip-flops. But it's we've been working with Florida districts for a long time, and you've really been on the short end of the stick when it comes to laws. You got in 2015 the Sunshine Law requiring you to have 16 online posting requirements. You had so many other things happen, and there was some knee jerk around Reedy Creek Special Improvement District, aka Disney World. There was all kinds of stuff happening, and now you have OPPAGA and you have some other things. And so we work with a company that focuses exclusively on special districts, and that focuses on that local form of government, and we serve thousands of districts across the country. And so today, what we're going to talk to you about is telling that story. First, why? Why tell your story at all? Distinguishing storytelling, which is ideal, versus just the facts, which is what so much of local government does. We're going to drill in and actually do a little workshop on your district story, like you personally, why your district exists, why you came to work for your district, and we're going to share those with each other. Then we're going to help talk about how you get the word out. Heather's going to dig into her personal experience. We're going to show you some really interesting and often funny examples of how districts like you, some in Florida, are getting the words out. And we're going to talk about why now, like OPPAGA and HB 973, like not just about data, what is really going on behind that law and how do we stay ready and equipped. So with that, we'll get started and we'll talk about why tell your story. And, Heather, if you don't tell your district story, who will?
Oh, a lot of people love to tell your story, and I've been there. So if you're looking at some of the examples, you have a lot of people. I feel like, this is kind of raw saying this, but you have people coming in wanting you to fail sometimes, I felt as a PIO and a director. And one of the examples I wanted to give was a lot of agencies should work together. So I'm originally from mosquito abatement, so vector control. And we had to work side by side with code enforcement, public utilities, and I felt like with all these different agencies, it's like you don't want to work against them, but a lot of those things trickle over and the boundaries trickle over. So why don't we work together? Well, we did have one example of another PIO from the city coming in, kind of talking for us, saying that the smell in the air was our vector control district, and it was not. So you have some of those stories where now the social media platforms were exploding. People were calling us in saying, you're pretty dramatic things about our mosquito abatement
Mhm.
issues and our treatments. So you really have to hone in on that and have an emergency plan. And something that we're really discovering at Streamline too is really making sure we have those resources available. So creating customizable communication toolkits to kind of help you prepare for those situations. So we realized we need an emergency plan. We need a communications plan, a communications grid that we can use when these sort of issues happen, who we're going to call first, press release out, calling that PIO saying, what are you doing? Getting that source of trust out and having yourself be that source of trust. And that's something we really had to work on. And that's something, it's all about trial and error, but that was a very interesting moment for me as the PIO saying, I've got to get on this,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know.
And these headlines are not friendly. And
No.
what so often happens is that you could quiz people in your community and say, "Do you know what a special district is?" And 6% of them will say, "Absolutely," and the other 94% will say, "What? What is that? Who's that? Who's that taking our money?" And it really, if they don't know who you are, they're so much more susceptible to being told who you are. One famous example, of course, is John Oliver. Here's what he had to say about special districts years ago, and it still sticks.
Special districts are so ubiquitous and sometimes have so little accountability, states may not even know how many they have or how much they spend. A few years back, Idaho launched an investigation of special districts with objective one being identify how many special districts there are in Idaho. And when Kentucky investigated, its auditor found that 40% of its districts that were required to didn't even file proper budgets.
I mean, this is an extraordinary mess. As one of my good friends says, you can't make this up.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that brings us to our central theme for today, which is going to be about the circle of trust. And what is so important is that we as special districts get inside the circle of trust. Because if we're not, we just are susceptible to people thinking that we're some other entity. In Heather's case, poisoning the air with chemicals,
Yeah.
like we're just in Colorado, and they were concerned that their new smart water meters, were installed to help save the community money, were spying on them. The smart water meters are spying on us. And so, when they don't realize that you're actually theirs, you're their community in action, you get outside of the circle of trust, and everything is hard. All the next door rumors and stuff are hard, all the chatter. And so we're going to be talking about getting inside that circle of trust. The primary way we do that is by storytelling as opposed to just stating the facts.
Yeah. So I love this particular slide because it kind of connects with the story I was telling with facts versus telling a story. So this one example, the city has adopted a new ordinance that makes grocery stores charge 10 cents per bag. This all to me already is too much jargon. It's too many codes. It's too I want to say stale.
And
So
this is how local government loves to communicate.
yes, I know. Yeah, yeah, I've been there, and it's
That's their
like
fault. This is
no
what
one,
we're competing
no one cares about the ordinance. They want to know how it's affecting them. So tell that story and reach out to people in very simple language. At Vector Control 2, Aedes aegypti, no one knows what that is. That's a mosquito. But no one needs to know the scientific name. They want to know how it's affecting them and if they need to be worried about it and if they spread disease. So here's a nice story that it's all around you all the time, handed to you in the corner of a cafe. This is gorgeous. This is a beautiful, nice way to talk to people, and they're getting it. Because if you're providing a service, they need to know that. But I love this. And for years, this product, paper, you only really notice it when it's not there. And it's true. But that's telling a story. And then they're understanding it because it's more personalized
Mhm.
instead
And
of
yeah,
just a fact.
and that's kind of how things work with districts. Like if you're doing your job, you go unnoticed. And when one special district misbehaves, then that becomes the caricature of the state that says, well, now we can't trust these people. So one example that happened was where there is an air ambulance that was landing, and people would complain online. They would try to post something positive about it, but the people in the community, gosh, they fly over so low over our house, it's scary. They would complain about the noise, the danger. You know, what are they doing and making all that racket? And so the fire protection district in this case actually started to post and tell stories, and they would actually shout out their other fellow districts. And here it's, you know, providing our community with a great spot to land an air ambulance. When somebody realizes that loud noise is someone's grandma being life flighted to safety, there's more patience for what is happening there. So what's fun now is, like, I want to do a little brainstorming. I know we're 10 minutes into our talk here, but we want to go a little bit under the hood with you in your district and understand what is your story. And I want to kind of think about how we articulate this. And I'm going to go back to an oldie but a goodie. It's a talk by Simon Sinek called Why? The Power of Why. I'm going to play it because it is completely relevant to how districts communicate and need to communicate. We're going to watch it for a few minutes, and then I want you to get out your notepad or your iPhone or whatever and jot down some notes, because we have 3 exercises for you. Here's Simon.
How do you explain when things don't go as we assume? Or better, how do you explain when others are able to achieve things?
Just a second. Let's fix that audio. Here we go.
A double.
How do you explain when things don't go as we assume? Or better, how do you explain when others are able to achieve things that seem to defy all of the assumptions? For example, why is Apple so innovative? Year after year after year after year, they're more innovative than all their competition. And yet they're just a computer company. They're just like everyone else. They have the same access to the same talent, the same agencies, the same consultants, the same media. Then why is it that they seem to have something different? Why is it that Martin Luther King led the civil rights movement? He wasn't the only man who suffered in a pre-civil rights America, and he certainly wasn't the only great orator of the day. Why him? And why is it that the Wright brothers were able to figure out controlled powered manned flight when there were certainly other teams who were better qualified, better funded, and they didn't achieve powered manned flight, and the Wright brothers beat them to it? There's something else at play here. Why, how, what? This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? And why should anyone care? Well, as a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. But the inspired leaders and the inspired organizations, regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. I use Apple because they're easy to understand and everybody gets it. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this: we make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh. And that's how most of us communicate. That's how most marketing is done, that's how most sales is done, and that's how most of us communicate interpersonally. We say what we do, we say how we're different or how we better, and we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that. Here's our new law firm. We have the best lawyers with the biggest clients. We have, we always perform for our clients, do business with us. Here's our new car. It gets great gas mileage. It has, leather seats. Buy our car. But it's uninspiring. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? Totally different, right? You're ready to buy a computer from me. All I did was reverse the order of the information. What it proves to us is that people don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This explains why every single person in this room is perfectly comfortable buying a computer from Apple. But we're also perfectly comfortable buying an MP3 player from Apple or a phone from Apple.
Well, you turned out to be right about Apple, that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. They don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And that is so important, like that districts so often communicate what they do or how they do it, but not why they do it. So that's what we're going to brainstorm with you right now. So I want you, in your own words, to write down your organization's purpose, cause, or belief. But don't just copy and paste your mission statement. Just, in human language. If we were just in an elevator riding together, and I said, "Oh, well, why do you exist?" and not "what do you do?" Why do you exist? What would you say? All right, so let's begin now. Heather and I are going to give you 1 minute, and then we're going to call on some volunteers to share who their district is for the world. All right, let's get started. We'll be right back. William, I want to give you a shout out. You've already shared right there in the chat. So William shared that the South Indian River Water Control District protects life and property. If anybody else would like to share live, please feel free to raise your hand.
I like that.
Yeah, that's absolutely what you do with the Water Control District, protecting life and property. Yeah, because that's something that people think about. It's not just water to drink. There's such thing as life-saving water pressure, and I'll tell you, in the wildfires in California, there's a big difference between the areas that had good, independent water districts. They had the pressure to save homes, and the ones that were under-maintained, underserved, caught up in the politics of the city of Los Angeles, which has redirected funds here and there, delayed bond measures, etc., they burned down. So yeah.
Here's another one.
Oh yeah. Okay, so and with William, thank you for clarifying. That is flood control specifically. Yeah.
Oh, river water. Oh, okay.
Water Control District. Thank you. Soil and water conservation districts are considered special districts in the state of Florida. Chapter 189. All special districts. Okay. Yeah.
I can give you an example for vector control. Was one that we used was protecting public health.
Yep. So simple and nice. So Ashley, thank you for the background on chapters 189 and 190.
Oh, Bernadette. Oh, you called it out. You already said it. Yep. Mosquito district protects public health and enhancing the quality of life for everyone within the surrounding areas. I like that.
Sun and Lake, we provide concierge level services and amenities Ooh, that's marketing right there. You know, I had a Rec and Park district tell me when we were doing this exercise on who are they for the world and why they exist. And they said it's for empty nesters to be able to have something to go do after their kids go. Like that was one of their statements of purpose. I thought that was really interesting. All right. Would anybody else like to share or put either in chat or raise their hand? All right. We've got from Glenn. Preserving life and property by delivering professional fire and emergency services to our community. Awesome. I remember one person said to me when we were doing this, they said, why do we exist in the community? We are there for you on your worst day. It was fire and rescue. I was like, well, that's a pretty cut and dry way of doing it.
Oh, here's some more.
Ken Roundtree, Northern Palm Beach County Improvement District. We present a transparent working relationship to the community utilizing progressive science and technology. Cool. District. County Improvement District. Okay, awesome. Ken, is that a bid, like a business improvement district or just general community improvement district? It's like general. North River Fire. Okay. Hi, Alexis. Thank you for sharing. To protect and save the people. I mean, I love the simple ones that are just so straightforward. It's difficult to argue with that, right?
Oh, I love this one from Joan.
Navarre Beach Fire Rescue District. We help keep you safe while on vacation. Yeah, I love that. Okay, awesome. Yeah, Ken Roundtree, similar to South Indian River, also water control district. Okay, yeah, these are great. These are really great. I was delivering this talk in Austin last month, and a woman shared a story, and I'm going to share that actually on our next exercise, which is exercise 2. It is why did or do you choose to work for your district? So let's take just a minute here. What made you join your particular organization, and what lights you up about the work you do? Why are you still there? This is fun. Okay, we'll give you 1 minute. We'll be right back. Examples here can say like, I started volunteering at the district and then someone told me I needed to do something else. It can be, why you personally came to work for the district. Someone said I needed a job one time, but they've been there for 15 years. All right. I'd love to call on someone live if they are up for it. Just raise your hand and I'll unmute you. People are notoriously shy on these. Don't worry, there's only about 40 people. So it's not too.
Ken as well said he needed a job, but meeting people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I like this. Okay, well, we are very alive and well on the chat, so I'll do that. Oh yeah, here we go. So Raymond, the potential to do what the founders of the district intended 50 years ago, and no one has. Oh, okay. There's a spicy call to action. I like that. Jumping up one more to Elizabeth. Before that, in 1957, we were created to reclaim lands, build and maintain most roads, drainage, and park for the benefit of our residents. Lee Morris, make our districts as a better place for residents to live. Bernadette, change of career, administration for long-term care for over a decade, and COVID tore me down. I love that. Thank you, Bernadette. It's time for a change after COVID.
Mm.
Christopher, we are the watchers. We solve your problems. We succeed when failure is not an option. Wow. Kevin, meeting people from Ken Roundtree, meeting people from the public and networking. Plus, I needed a job. Timmy Caldwell, I wanted to be part of a growing and developing district to serve residents and learn more about special districts. Jennifer says to serve the community that I live in by helping my neighbors. It's beautiful. Ooh, Ashley Cook, fifth generation to live on a production farm, wanted to ensure agriculture for future generations through conservation efforts. B. Johnson, I love to be a public servant. B, it's good to have you back. And Elizabeth Accomando, nice to see you again, Elizabeth, to bring the district to the table instead of on it.
Hey.
Yeah, better to be at the table than on the plate, right? that has happened so many times.
I want to chime in
Yeah.
and ask Christopher if he has the We Are the Watchers. I hope that's on your website somewhere. That's a pretty amazing topic.
Yeah. Andrea says, initially I just wanted to go out on boats and climb through swamps. But 20 years later, I am most excited about protecting public health and local economy. Yes, that's awesome, Andrea. So when I was in Austin, this woman shared with me, she was volunteering at a summer camp for kids. And one of the kids had an allergic reaction. So they had to call the ambulance, and they waited 22 minutes for the ambulance to arrive. And the kid almost died. And she said, the reason I came to work for my district is so that that would never happen again. And we were like, well, tell us more. And she said, well, actually, I helped form the district because we didn't have fire response in our area or emergency response. We had to get it from the county over. And my commitment was that never again would I have that happen. And so she had just volunteered. That was 2 years ago. And she just volunteered again. They had a similar, less severe incident happen with the kids at the summer camp. And they called and they were there in 3 minutes. And she was so proud because they had just gotten their first 2 fire trucks.
And every minute counts.
Yeah. And I mean, talk about the inside of the circle of trust. It's like, no, like I'm one of the moms that like volunteers at the camp. Like that's why this district came to exist. And those are your stories. They are that powerful. Monique, absolutely love the fire service, and my expertise in business led me to my job as office manager. Best of both worlds. Yeah. I find that people that work in districts work there for a long time because they get in there and they feel what they're doing, and it keeps them inspired to keep going. So how do we tell a story, Heather? How do we get this out?
Getting the word out. And there's so many different ideas on how to do that. First, your website. So feature on the homepage, update the site often so people know to check and where to check and how to check. Is just, you've got to have that nice website to go to. Keep CEO in mind. Email campaigns. I'm a big believer in email campaigns. I also am a big believer in annual campaigns to have like a certain date to really plug in so people know, oh, the annual campaign is coming, and really dive into that. Collaborate with other agencies, other entities. Will get your word out. So really pushing through the regular newsletters, special announcements, push readers to your site. Make sure there is a sign up on your site to sign up for the campaigns, the emails, the newsletters, etc.
How many of you have email newsletters by a show of hands? Only a few. Interesting. How many of you don't have time for newsletter?
That's the problem too.
Yeah. I mean, I come across this so much where people say, I don't have time for newsletter, but there are some awesome tools out there. I don't know if you've experimented with ChatGPT at all. I would totally recommend playing around with it. If you ask it to create a newsletter for your district and you give it a couple of talking points, it will create a newsletter for you. And it'll do a pretty good job as a draft. And then you can copy it, edit it, and send it out. It's fast, it's easy. And when we think about, your website, it's just like, what if we took what Ashley said, ensuring agriculture for future generations through conservation efforts? Is that on your homepage, Ashley? Like, is that in there? Because that's a really powerful why statement. When I think about, protecting public health and the local economy, as Andreas shared. We are the watchers, as Chris said. Like, these are things that you can put on your homepage carousel in the, is a statement of purpose. That will catch people's attention and remind people why you're there. And the other thing too, like, even if you don't have a newsletter, it doesn't hurt to have a newsletter sign up. And then when you are ready to have one, you've got 20 people ready to hear from you. So, you could just say, for special announcements only, and then people will sign up. And,
And
and what about like local media, and what about sort of guerrilla marketing and events, Heather?
Yeah. For local media newspapers, the more personal and interesting the story, the more likely it is to be published. I know that firsthand. It is making it interesting and really building a relationship with local media is very important. Calling them like I would say, we're conducting residential treatments. Can channel 710, you push it out to the media, to an email saying, hey, we're conducting residential treatments. We'd really like your support and feedback. They would drive over to the district and we would do a couple segments. Especially if you can get someone on board that can talk to the media in other languages too is important. But the more the story involves locals, especially kids, I interviewed my child personally a couple of times, and people loved watching him talk about mosquitoes. But the more likely it will be shared. We actually went around with one of the media channels and asked people how they felt about mosquito control, and we answered their questions, and we did myths and asking if they even knew a female versus a male mosquito. I mean, really, really interesting topics, and it's good to get that feedback, and it was engaging. Something else I really want to push out there is with campaign marketing and pushing out an annual campaign. Other city agencies will help that have a little bit more traction. A lot of times, certain districts don't have a lot of followers on their social media, like we didn't. So really collaborating with other agencies that have a larger presence and can really push out kind of your agenda. But also, I tapped into other cities saying, hey, can we use your queues? Can we use your billboards on the freeways? And they said, absolutely. So that's free advertising right there.
So awesome.
Yeah. Guerrilla marketing, more affordable than traditional marketing methods, can include things like sidewalk chalk, designing community murals, holding community meetings, and open houses. The sidewalk chalk is, I think, one of my favorites because it gets the whole community involved, kids, art, engagement. I highly recommend pop-ups. So really popping up, bringing some fun swag, arts, crafts, really getting the community involved in your services that you provide. But especially, I always like to start with kids and education programs because the kids are going to go home and tell their parents. And now you're already starting to engage with other generations and other demographics. So really pushing those pop-outs through and letting the community know that you're there. You're having a pop-up. You want to hear their feedback, and having them fill out surveys for bigger swag items to get that feedback.
Yeah, awesome. And like being in a special district, you can be low budget looking, and that's fine. It doesn't.
I didn't get a big budget. You just
think
with
that
what you got.
a table at farmers market, other stuff. It's a really great way to interact and be seen.
Yeah.
So let's look at some examples of that, and remember, like the overarching story we really see is that you're a better choice for your district. You're really the best way they can get services. You don't have the overhead. You're an alternative sometimes to investor-owned utilities and service providers. Like, it's really great, and yet many people don't even know you exist. So a couple tips we have with telling your story. Making it current. Like, if there's just current events that are happening, if you're fire or rescue or any of that, like, you can publish about any events that you're getting called out on. Creates a lot of excitement. Like South Metro is always popping with excitement on their social media feed because of this. But even if you don't have something necessarily specific, you can just talk about, what's going on, being sunny, high, warm, but that currency, that here and now, that keeps people engaged and relevant. And then another thing is behind the scenes access. So, we had pets always do really well, pets and children, like if you want to succeed on social media, if you have those opportunities, so sharing those photos or videos, road crews, public works projects, community events, council meetings, fundraisers, just showing that you're human. Because when there is that rumor, oh, the smart readers are spying on us, oh, they're spraying us with poison, when they go and see, oh no, Sam is here, running around doing arson protection, the helicopter's landing in the ball field because it's performing a rescue, all of a sudden it creates that personal connection. So should you write something impersonal, like what Heather was saying earlier? Should you communicate like most local governments, talk about parking fees and fines, or should you do what the city of Atlanta did when it came to parking fees? They said, if you just moved here, please come to our office to pick up your parking ticket. New residents receive 1 parking ticket to help them get used to life in Atlanta. So you know what? They don't have an easy job. They're not always popular doing what they have to do. So, but they made light of it and showed that they are human too. And for many of you, you have small budgets, you're scrappy. That's what makes you awesome. Owning that, highlighting your local heroes, putting your logo up there, doing things that allow people to give support. And in this case, I mean, it's really simple. Like people are like, oh, I know that place. I know those people. It's hard to accuse those people of anything too treacherous, right? I mean, because it's people coming together to protect the community, just like the way that you shared in your stories. You are that. You are those local heroes. If I took all of the districts away that attended this webinar, your communities would miss you very, very soon. So it's really, really important that they know that. Heather, let's talk about the Districts Make a Difference campaign and other larger efforts that are happening to tell the district story.
Yeah, so when you look at districts make a difference, that's a little like tongue twister. But when you look at it says, for over 100 years, special districts have kept your lights on, your water running, and your communities safe. I don't think people really understand that. I don't think people understand the meaning of a special district. And there's some districts out there sometimes I don't even know they're really that special of a district, But I feel like if you're not going to tell your story, someone else will. And districts make the difference. It shows that you have, I'll give you an example. When I first came in, I came from the zoo and park and rec and then went into mosquito control. And at the time, I didn't even know mosquito control existed. Like there was an actual district that's specifically focused on mosquito control. And I don't think people think about park and rec and fire and all those different entities are governed by their own board or separate from federal or state. And so it's so good to educate the community on why you're special and the services that you provide make all the difference in their community. I mean, think about libraries and fire and water. I know that, people are feeling the effects of mosquitoes, these new ankle biters that we're talking about, and coining those terms, ankle biter. No one wants to know the scientific term of something that's biting them. They just want to know how to mitigate the situation, right? So providing those educational and engaging tools for the community that they can use. So this right here, infographics. I'm a very visual person. I think a lot of people are very visual. So if you're showing them multiple sources working together, this is showing state and federal support pouring in, and it's showing you exactly with funding sources. So it's showing the community where the money is going and how important it is and why, where that money is going and why. So using those visual infographics, I know just from like a public health perspective, showing them what we use for this is what we use for mosquito control. This is physical, this is chemical. This is what we use for communication. So showing them where every little kind of scent is going to help protect them or to help bring them a service that I feel is essential.
And another way to communicate too, it doesn't have to be so complex. Like if you want to provide some simple tips, rake pine needles, clear out gutters, limb up your trees, mow tall grass. Like that's how you can protect against fire. But again, it's messages of service, communicating what you want to get out there. Now,
And less is more.
oh, sorry, go ahead, Heather.
Less is more. Just keep it simple.
Yes, exactly. And speaking of less is more, and somebody who did not want to appear on the screen, this is SCSD, the Southern Utah Electric Service District, and they provide power for the community. And nobody wanted to get on camera to tell the story. They're shy, as we know sometimes you are shy. So I thought this was a really interesting solution. They told their story of what they've done. Check it out.
If you live in South Utah County and get your power from SCSD, did you know we've managed to...
Hold on. We like to have two sources of audio today. Let me try it one more time.
If you live in South Utah County and get your power from SCSD, did you know we've managed to keep your rates the same since March 2009? That's 10 years. And after more than 110 years of reliably serving your community as a not-for-profit power provider, we figured it was time to formally introduce ourselves. We're SCSD, South Utah Valley Electric Service District. We happily serve 4,000 customers just like you in South Utah County. SCSD provides power to rural and mountain areas, as well as the cities of Woodland Hills and Elk Ridge. Some of our customers even reside in Spanish Fork, Salem, Payson, and Santaquin. SCSD is as unique as the diverse areas we serve. We're locals, working for locals, and we're a public power company that genuinely cares about giving you the fairest rates possible. With SCSD, you only ever pay for the power you use, nothing else. Our service has the personal, community touch. Call our office and you'll speak to an actual person, probably even someone you know. And out in the field, SCSD linemen are the best of the best. Their deep local knowledge lets them respond quickly and effectively to any situation. When wildfires or snowstorms strike, we're working on the front lines in the toughest conditions. No matter the challenge, SCSD has your back. And we don't keep you waiting. We get your power back on, fast. We've been here since the beginning, and we're as excited as ever to power your South Utah County. Give us a wave next time you see us out there in your community. SCSD, reliable service, reasonable prices, power to light our future.
Yeah, so awesome. And such a good way to combat misinformation. Like keeping the rates stable. I mean, those are just not things you find outside of local government districts. Like it's so unusual and it's so special. Now for something completely different. So Heather knows this one well. This was somebody who didn't mind being in front of the camera, and yeah, like they needed to get out information about the Aedes mosquito when they were combating Zika virus. And this is such a good example of how you can also do things if you just want to be memorable. Let's check it out.
Gosh, I hate the 80s.
What?
Gosh, I hate the 80s.
What?
The 80s were the best.
Wait, are we talking about the same thing?
80s music alone was awesome. I thought that you liked the Eagles, the Smiths, the Cure. Come on, Jimena.
It's not the 80s decade that I hate, but the 80s mosquito. Look, I just saw one.
Ada is here with the sound from the 80s. Invasive mosquitoes, the worst of the 80s.
They are aggressive fighters and very fast breeders. They can transmit Zika virus, yellow and dengue fevers.
You can recognize the 80s by their black and white stripes. And it's during the day that they like to bite. Our mission is to stop the 80s, is what it's about. So tip the water and toss it out.
Tip out the water and toss the container. Use these simple tips to keep everyone safer. All these mosquitoes are driving me crazy. Please do us a favor and don't bring back the 80s.
You're right. 80s mosquitoes do suck. Let's not bring them back.
Well, there's an example where you can look low budget and, just argue it's a great use of resources. They clearly,
So
yeah. And now, Heather, you know these people and what happened with all of this.
yes, that was our sister mosquito abatement district, and they were tiny. We were large. It was Greater LA, and they're San Gabriel, and they're a very small district with a low budget. And I was there helping them film. All they needed was a green screen, and that was it. And everyone on there was staff, and they just brought their own 80s clothes and filmed it with an Apple iPhone, edited it in-house, and there you go. And they actually paid someone on Fiverr to sing that song that they wrote. And you can do that. You can go on Fiverr and pay someone about $50 to sing a song.
And it was wildly successful. Like the Tribune picked it up, other press picked it up, and it was really awesome public service moment. And for years we've been sharing that, talking this example of what's possible, whether you want to hide behind the camera or you're willing to brave it with an iPhone and get scrappy. What a cool way to tell the story.
And I think what's great is they reached out to the local local media to film the mosquito. The mosquito, actually, that character goes to city council meetings. And so it's like, actually coming up with a character or a mascot is actually very interesting. And K-Rock, if you're from California, K-Rock's a very large radio station, and they made this song one of the worst songs they've heard. But hey, any publicity is good publicity, right?
Yes. I mean, yeah, it's all good press and all for a great why. Like these are just people looking to prevent illness, and they got silly while doing it. And we're really inspired by that. And even whether it's TSA, I mean, they're doing serious stuff, but someone was surprised to open and find replica propelled grenade launchers in this. Oh, is this real? They post all this stuff too to tell the story. And I had people in wastewater and sanitary say, well, like what on earth would we want to share on social media? So they did a whole campaign on that old toilets can waste a spooky amount of water, and they did this during Halloween. And so anyway, there's a lot of like fun ways. And I think at the end of the day, making it personal, the more you can connect the story to the community members, the better. Really think about, why does this matter? And how do you want them to feel after reading or hearing your story? I'm still inspired by the things shared. That you love to go out on boats and climb through swamps, but want to protect public health and the local economy. That, there's so many examples of that. And as Maya Angelou shared, she said, I've learned that people will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. So right now, it is an interesting time in Florida. And so there's like 4 points that Heather and I want to share. And the first is trust building through storytelling. And, there's performance reviews, there's legislative mandates. But at the end of the day, like the public trust is built on that relatability, that clarity. They don't always get into your spreadsheets, your policy documents, but your narratives about like, how do these services improve lives? Stories of that, visuals and metrics, profiles, local projects, community members, humanizing it. That is key. And that is essential right now, even for your survival. I mean, we've seen whole types of districts wiped off the map because the public had lost their appreciation for what they did.
So not just about the data, holistic performance reviews. So I say like OPPAGA or OPPAGA, I know, like tomato sort of thing. But it's mandated to assess performance and effectiveness, not just compliance. So their reviews look for whether the district is meeting its intended purpose, whether there is overlap, districts that frame their operations with clear examples of value. An example, instead of just posting, we maintain 12 miles of levees, say our levee maintenance protected 3,000 homes from flooding in 2023, keeping families safe. So once again, there's that story. There's showing them the numbers. Something, and I can just give you examples of mosquito abatement, but it's saying it's that infographic. So saying this is how many miles of land, because when we did gutter control, this is how many miles of gutters we've treated this year. So that year-end report. This is how many, traps are around the county. This is how many. So really showing them those infographics and visuals of what you're actually doing and why, and that storytelling. But I think just the holistic performance reviews. So whether the district is meeting its intended purpose, how well it's using public resources, whether there's an overlap. So all of that is imperative, is pretty much what it is. I don't want to go off on a tangent, but
Yeah, and without getting too much into like jargon, don't show us, don't just tell us. So there's like your compliance layer. Obviously, you're going to have your budgets, your performance data, your legal notices, all the things required under Florida law. But then also your engagement layer, like your project highlights, your photo galleries, your videos, your testimonials. So like what we do, our impact section, like what are your key services in plain English? Like you said, like you practiced today, why you exist, not just what you do, but why you exist. And then have your links to transparencies, your citation, and when possible, do that visual content, the photo, the infographics, the map.
all right, strategic advantages, so defensibility and resilience. So if you're questioned during a review or public hearing, which is always gets me sweaty, having a clear public-facing narrative about your district's values helps defend its existence and budget, but it also prepares you for interviews with staff or board members, media scrutiny, and legislative efforts to consolidate or dissolve underperforming districts. I have to say, there's been times where people have come to board meetings, which is I don't know about other districts, but it's very rare for a public member to actually come to a board meeting to give their opinion. Usually, they don't really have like the guts, or they usually can just send an email or a call. But having those clear statements for people, if they call or they're emailing or they're putting something on social media, it's always good, even when you're talking with media and they're asking you a question that they said that they weren't going to ask you, and it's just you kind of have to improv it. I've always had little sound bites and little like sentences scripted in my head to say to the media or someone that is discussing a hot topic. So always have that kind of ready, and have that strategic advantage. Have that plan ready ahead of time, or have a plan B ready.
Heather is oh, sorry, Heather.
No, go ahead.
There's a slight delay. Heather's put together an awesome toolkit. It's almost done. She'll be releasing it. We'll make sure to send it to you. It's like a toolkit just on how to respond in certain situations, communication frameworks, playbooks, all of that. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's always good to kind of just have those ready ahead of time, especially because I have been in two situations where, one, we lost the trust of the public. And if anyone wants to email me about that situation, it's hard to come back, but you can. When a certain situation happens, we had that happen. And then if you don't tell your story, someone else will. So always having that ready ahead of time. I also can give you an example of social media. It's always good to, how, and that's going to be in the kit. It's always hard to really say, how do I respond to this person on social media when they're being so negative? How to respond, because a lot of times you want to respond. You want to stick up for your district, and you want to give them the facts if they're spreading misinformation on your platform, especially. But also, it's taking those workshops too with lawyers. I figured out that someone can actually say, I'm going to kill this person on this district, emoji, like just kidding, or a smiley face. And emoji can actually be that form. Oh, there's something happening with, I think, little balloons or something happened with my hands. But that you cannot take that comment down if that emoji is there, because it's not threatening, because that emoji actually can speak for that person. So there's a lot of legality in hiding comments or deleting comments, being a district, being a public on a public platform. So, you need those kind of resources.
Social media policies, big ones. Like that is this whole separate talk we could get into.
Oh, have a social media policy.
Yes, have one, and we can help you with that. Let us know. But to recap, as we come to the end of our time today, if your story matters, and if you don't tell it, who will? Make sure to connect your why and your community's needs, and be engaging and make it personal. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be serious. It can be very silly, as we demonstrated today. But at the end of the day, you are your community. You protect your community, but your community needs to know that. And all of what we talked about today is about how you get inside the circle of trust. So you're not just a special district, you're their special district. My name is Matt Clemens, and this is Heather Highland. We are here rooting for you today, excited for you to secure your greatness in the eyes of the public. So much is happening in Florida, and there are many reasons to get out there, be proactive, tell your story. But we love you and what you're doing, and we hope you keep doing it. And if there's anything we can do to support you, please email us. Our emails are here. We get back to you. Heather's got all kinds of cool ideas and toolkits. I get excited about software. You want to know how to have AI help you with your newsletters or things like that, I'm your guy. Heather and I hope to see you at more of these things in the future. Okay, we'll take a couple of questions here. We have a board member who states that they can say what they want on social media as it's their right. Yes, Elizabeth, we'll follow up with you on some policies. Social media, that is a solvable problem. We had one district have a policy where it's just like, they said only local politics shall be discussed on all social media platforms. All other content will be removed. And then that was their policy. And they just go remove all this stuff. It's pretty cool. They were able to clean house. Yeah, so absolutely. So Elizabeth, that's totally social media policy. It can also define what can be said on work hours, non-work hours, elected officials, unelected officials, current versus past board members still having control and maybe not giving control back of the social media. All of that can be addressed in policies. So we're happy to send you some examples. We've got that on our /social landing page, I think. So email Heather and we'll get back to you with that information. All right, and in the meantime, stay well. Again, Matt Clemens here and Heather, we are so excited. We're from Streamline. We exist to make your lives better so that you can better serve your communities. Thanks for joining us, and we hope we see you next time. And thanks again to the Florida Association of Special Districts who make sure that districts are stronger together. Take care. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.